Cool. Hi everyone, it's Alexi Uzas here, and today I have with me producers Luke and Erin Saliba. So Luke and Erin are the producers of a new feature film called Paper Champions, and today we're going to talk about how they managed to raise over $400,000 in private equity on their debut feature film, which is now in the final stages of post-production. So how are you guys?
Good. We're good. How are you?
Very well. Excited to dig into this story and kind of tell the world about how it all came to be.
Sounds good.
Sweet. So yeah, the first question I was going to ask is where you guys were at before we started working together.
Do you wanna go first?
Well, I guess in the past we had worked on a short film called Ray. That was a few years prior, and that was really exciting. And we did we did a crowdfunding project, I guess, and other bits and pieces, and we got money together that way, and we made it happen and sent it off to festivals, and we got a really good response from it. And we kept getting asked, is there more to this story? Is there more, like, people want to see more from it? And so Luke got together with one of his friends and decided to turn it into a feature. And it wasn't fully based off that film, but there were characters from that film and just extending that storyline and delving more into that. And so that was kind of sitting there for probably 12 months. And we've both done a few bits and pieces, like some acting in other shows and producing, and just, I don't know what else we were doing.
We had produced short films and like web series kind of stuff, and had written the feature with not sure where to begin with it or how to get it kind of off the ground. We intended to get it made, but yeah, we weren't too sure where to start in the feature world. So that's where we got in touch with you.
Yeah, and so how did you come to learn about me or the company Exile and end up reaching out to me?
Well, I think originally through Damien and West of Sunshine, I think we originally hit you up for distribution and to ask questions that we needed a distributor on board to get funding or to take it to the next step. So yeah, we got in touch with you about that, and then you were kind of like, oh yeah, I love the script, keen to help out more and jump on board as a producer if you're keen, and it kind of went from there.
Yeah, it started with our late night, early morning chats because I was in New York at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Which sounded really fun, having another producer in New York. It sounded very fancy, but in reality, it was just very early morning Skype chats, being half asleep.
I think there were a few bad chats for sure between both of us.
This is one of the best chats we've had fully closed. So,
like all great partnerships, that's how they start, right? And so what was the process then of us deciding to work together? So you touched on it then, but I think there was a kind of stage between when we spoke about me potentially coming on, and then I think it really becoming like serious that, okay, let's kind of throw ourselves into this, really give the financing a crack, and start trying to raise some money.
I think the part for us was that, I guess, really Luke and I are really creative, and we really are passionate about that side of it. And obviously when you're making a film, there's the business side to it, then there's also the creative side. And we didn't have that much experience in the feature world of knowing how to step forward, I guess, to be able to obtain the money that we needed and what the routes we could go down and how to describe that to people if they did want to invest in us. We didn't really know how to I guess, navigate that side of it. So having you come on board with the experience that you had really helped us, because we could stick with the creative side while also learning about the business side. But because you've had that prior experience, it allowed us to, I guess, do what we're best at and allow you to do what you're best at, which made it a really cohesive team to work together. And I guess before we really delved into that, we also had a business mentor and, suggested we get together a memorandum and information and documents to put together just so that to show future investors, this is what we're about, this is what we want to do, these are, the actors we're possibly thinking of, offering just descriptive things. Just a really rough outline of the budget and how it was going to work, and you really helped us with that and put that together, which I think going forward to investors to show you've already done all the groundwork is a really big step, and it's super important because it shows that you're serious about it and you're not just like, I need money for a film and here's a bit about it. It's like, we've gone through the budget, we've looked at, this is the amount of money we'll probably need, this is how we're going to spend it, this is, our timeline of everything. So I think having you on board, Alexia, was a massive, massive help for us because we wouldn't have even known, I don't know, where to start.
Well, I think the biggest thing for us was, we just needed some guidance, and we were kind of like, we've got this film, we want to make it, we think we can raise the money, but what are the steps that we should take? And I think there was a lot of you giving us kind of this is the next step that we need to achieve, and then we'd go off and do it with your help, and then we'd come back and reassess and be like, cool, now we can do this, and then we'd go off and do that. Whereas it's like, I think filmmakers with short films, it's a lot easier to do it yourself, and it's a lot easier to kind of manage when you're making a lower budget short film, it's a lot easier to kind of, I guess, manage all of that yourself, whereas when you're going into feature world and you've got quite a bit of money there, it's kind of daunting when you don't know, when you don't have a business degree and you're kind of like, well, we want to do the right thing here and we don't want to just have all this money and be like, woo, yeah, let's make a film. So it's kind of like, yeah, having that guidance of what we needed to do, what we needed to have in place, and really got us, from one step to the next.
Yeah, and I think one thing that made it so successful in terms of like the ability to raise the money that we needed was actually you guys being happy and willing to kind of take on that role as producers. And obviously, like, Luke, you also wrote the screenplay and you're the lead in it, so you're both definitely like the creative force behind the film. But when it came to raising the finance, you were both like, yep, tell me what I need to do. We're happy to go out there and do it. And you really embraced that experience and made it almost like a learning experience for you guys to kind of skill up. And so, how important was that kind of learning curve for you guys and just being kind of willing to take that on yourselves?
I think at the start it was daunting because it's hard to just go to somebody and ask for money, really, which is what you're essentially doing. But it's more than that. And I think the way that we approached it was just being relational with people. The last thing we wanted was to just step forward to somebody, ask for money, and then turn away with it. Like, it's not fair, and it shouldn't be how it is. We wanted to really build a relationship with our investors and potential investors. We wanted to show them that we were serious. And I guess that was a huge learning curve for us because I guess dealing with such large amounts of money and knowing that people wanted to be that generous for us was a huge, like, wake-up call that, wow, this is really happening and we need to be really serious about it. But I think a huge thing for us was before we went and found investors was setting, I guess, morals and standards of what we were after. So one of the first ones was we wanted to have investors that wanted to invest in us and our idea and Geelong, because a massive part of this film was that we wanted to base it in our city and show that there's opportunity here for more of a permanent industry. Another thing was people that cared about the arts, and had possibly invested in something to do with the arts before our film or had, been interested in investing in film before. And the other one was that, we could have an ongoing friendship and relationship with them. We didn't just want to, again, take the money and walk away. Like, we have continuous catch-ups with our investors. We email back and forth. We keep them in the loop, which I think is really important because, I mean, if you put yourself in their shoes, if you gave someone money for something and then they never showed you what they did with it, it would kind of be like, oh, what are we doing? So it's like making sure that you're keeping that exciting and fun at the same time. And I think that's been massive learning for us, just communicating with people and I guess seeing that they believe in us and then stepping out and doing what we set out to do. I don't know if you want
to. No, I agree. And I think why we got along with you, Alexi, is because we were all, I think, very honest with each other. Like, I think we didn't come to you pretending that we knew what, everything about what we were doing. We kind of came to you and we were like, we're not quite sure. We've never done this before. We've never done this at this level before. Can you help us out? And I think, for you to give us a chance and I guess see the potential in us and be like, yeah, let's, this is what you need to do. I've put this together for you, instead of being like, this is not going to work out because you've never done this before. Yeah. And also I think being honest with the investors. I think from the beginning, we sat down with the investors and we were like, we're not going to paint some picture that this is going to be the greatest, investment opportunity of your lifetime. We kind of sat down and said, this could be, or it might not be, and this is what can happen. This is, and I think they really appreciated that, and I think they appreciated our honesty and
respected that.
Yeah, and I think those relationships with our investors are important and will be important in the future. And and same with everyone that we've worked with on this film.
So let's go through the process of how you actually got in front of these investors and, what the pitch process was like and what it was like trying to close the investors as well.
So I guess we kind of used our networking opportunities that we have. We knew especially when it's within the business world, it's quite...
I think that cut out. Do you want to start again, Erin, from where you were?
Sorry. Yeah. Geelong's not a huge place, and in the business world, it's even smaller and tighter. So everybody knows everybody. There's been, you look at one person's address book and they probably got all the same people as the next person in that kind of realm. So we approached somebody that we knew people within our city and our community that had invested in the arts before. So that was one of our first things. And we gave him, he had the business memorandum. He took that with him and he would go and have a personal meeting with these people or a phone call. And he'd be like, hey, I have these producers, they really want to do this film, and he would be our character reference because he knew us for such a long time, and they'd say, okay, and so then we would go and have a meeting with them by ourselves, and we would go in there and answer any questions that they had. So we did that a couple of times with quite a few investors. Others, we just got email addresses and we emailed through the memorandum, let them know what we were doing. I reckon in the end it was probably close to like 60 or 70 people that we'd reached out to.
Yeah.
Some people said no, which was disheartening, but at the same time, you can understand where they're coming from. And I think in the past, people have been burnt by stuff before. So that was a bit difficult for us to kind of navigate because I think people had tried to sell the dream before to investors and the film hadn't worked out, or it had been a flop, or they hadn't done it to a professional standard. So then that kind of wasn't great for us because people were straight away like, no, I'm not investing in film. So I mean, you can't blame them, but that's why for us it was so important to be so professional and to go into these meetings with the information that we had and to make sure that we knew what we were talking about, even if sometimes we were like, that's a great question. But it's just having enough information and knowledge to back yourself. And so, once our business mentor really had met with them, and then we would meet with them, and then they would go away and talk and make a decision and then come back to us. We did have a group meeting where you'd kindly made a video for us from the other side of the world, and it just explained all the budgeting and all that kind of stuff. And we even showed the short film that we made a couple of years ago just so they could get the idea. I think that was a massive, massive help going into this feature, to have a short film that we'd made prior to a standard and was similar to what we were making now, shows that we'd gone out and done it, we'd raised the money, we'd completed that task. So then to step into a meeting with that already done and to show that really helped as well, I think, because it showed that we were going to stick to our word and we were going to do it. And I think going in with all those things, speaking with that, again, like Luke said, being really honest and being like, you may not make the money back, you may make the money back, but in the end, they weren't investing in just our film, they were investing in us and, the future, I guess, industry in this city as well. So, it was really interesting time and experience. But I think, that's where you're a massive help. And they trusted us. And we're like, Lexi, quite sure about. So it was nice to be able to be like, we'll check in with Alexi and he'll let us know. Or and it was just good to have another person to be able to be specialising in that side of things. And I think they really appreciated that, because as much as it was, a relational thing and them investing in us, it's still a business transaction. Like, it is still, I
think it's when, like, walking into a room of investors, it's hard. It's hard for them to feel safe investing in two filmmakers who are, in their 20s and 30s and be like, cool, let's just throw some money at these young kids who are making a film, because it's like, everyone's making films. And for them to, I think, feel comfortable and safe was through, the help of you, and I guess having someone there who spoke the lingo and, knew what they were talking about. But then also seeing how passionate we were about the film and creating something for our city, and, bringing the film industry down here and bringing these people down here. So it was, it's a mixture of both. It's a mixture of them, being excited about being a part of something that they may not have ever invested in, but also feeling safe because there is someone who knows, the business side of investment and money and all that kind of stuff.
I think that's absolutely right. When you can go in there and kind of impress them with the creative side of things and show how passionate you are, and if you can point to previous work that you've done as well, but then you have the numbers to kind of back up what you're saying, then in their mind at least everything's making sense to them, and so they can start to, I guess, build trust in you guys and what you're saying. And so, and out of the 60 or 70 that you ended up approaching, it was about 4 or 5 that invested, right? 5?
Yeah. Investors,
Yeah, so it just shows how many people you really have to contact in order to get just one investment.
And it's crazy. And I think you can tell from the first conversation you have whether somebody is interested or not. Like, as harsh as it is, it's like they pick up the phone like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. I'll get someone to talk to you about it. It's kind of like, oh, okay, cool. But when someone's like, wow, tell me more, like, I'm really interested. But it is, again, it's like trying not to be disheartened by that, because the right people will come into it, and the people that are meant to be there will be next to you, but the people that aren't won't be there. So I just think it's meant to be. So the people that you do end up having as your investors and trusting in you, that's like your team of people. Like, you are a team, because it also pushes you to do better and want to do better, because you know these people personally, and these are the 5 doing everything to a high standard. So you contact 60, 70 people and end up with 5, but the 5 of, the best of what we've contacted and the people that really care. And in saying that, some people were like, I can't at the moment because I've already invested in something else, so I'm just waiting to see how that goes, not at this time. Or people like, I'd like to in a future project get involved, or and
we were lucky with having one investor who then spoke to his connection, because they all trust each other. So
definitely,
we had like 2 investors that are quite well respected around Geelong, and because they had invested in it, then others were like, oh, well, I trust them, or they wouldn't set me up with someone who's a bit flaky or they're not sure on. So it's kind of, it's through that network of our networks and then their networks, and everyone trying to pull out.
Yeah, I think that's happened for me on at least the last 3 projects, where there's been one investor who's then brought on at least 1 or 2 more investors, because it goes down to trust. And if they can see that someone that they're friends with, that they trust, has trusted someone else and what they're doing, then it gives them that little bit more confidence.
Like character reference. And I guess as well, our investors just kind of came out of nowhere, which was awesome at the right timing for us, because it was like, really a few things were up in the air. But then one of our investors was like, oh yeah, I sent an email, and then he emailed us back and was like, yeah, this sounds awesome, I want to be on board. And it was like, oh cool, like we hadn't even, he just heard through the grapevine about what we were doing and was just super eager to want to come on board with it, which was super inspiring for us, because it gave us that like second wind to keep going. And so even if you don't personally speak to somebody, it can just be through that. So that's why I guess, in meetings and things like that, to be professional and to be passionate and to be respectful, because you don't know what's going to happen after that meeting or who's going to be spoken to or who else is in the room. Like, you just don't, you never know. So it is holding yourself with that kind of professionalism as well, as that creative flair at the same time.
Agreed. And that was it was probably a 4 to 6 month process, right? Of raising finance.
Yeah.
Even a little bit longer, I think.
And it also kind of snowballed. I think we originally had, one number that we had to meet, and then other things came up. We were like, oh, we need this, and it just kind of I think we weren't expecting to get to where we were with the budget and the funding that we raised and all that kind of stuff. But there were a lot of hurdles that came up, and
you just cut out.
And it can be scary.
Got you. So just cut out for a sec.
Cut out. I think one thing for us was delays in production can be scary when you've got people willing to, you get to that step of them agreeing to invest, and then, you don't want to keep them waiting. So I think, trying to balance, it's like a balancing act.
It's like juggling constantly. It's like you're juggling investors and trying to keep that all, communication happening while trying to juggle all the pre-production stuff that's happening, and then trying to juggle the money and the finances, and then juggling all these other relationships, and then the business side of it. Like, it's a huge thing, but that's why you can't do it by yourself. That's why it's so important to have a team of people who are specializing in their areas, because then at the end of the day, it makes it a lot easier for everybody to be able to sleep at night, really.
So let's talk a bit about the producing side, because you've raised all this finance and you're ready to go, but now you've got to produce a feature film, and that is a whole different story to producing a short film. So do you want to talk us through what that process was like?
Well, it was a matter of just getting together the best team that we could, because like Erin said, we couldn't do everything on our own, and through connections and through our connections and your connections of people we had worked with before, bringing on a line producer and bringing on all these people to then start, because I think for us it was having deadlines and saying, cool, this is when we're going to aim to get this done. We need to do this and that, and then having people all there, trying to get it going with you. And I think the biggest thing for us was all of the creative stuff was one thing, but I think the business side of it was the most stressful thing for us, because we were learning as we were going, and there were so many things, and you get knocked back with certain things, and
I think for me personally, this is the first thing I've really properly sunk my teeth into producing ones. I've always helped out here and there, and so then just focus on a step at a time, because if I look at the bigger picture, if I told myself where we are now 12 months ago, I would have been freaking out. So it's just going step by step and going, okay, what's the next thing that needs to be done? What's the next thing that needs to be done? And someone asked oh, what does a producer do? What are you actually doing? And I'm just putting out fires, and just juggling things and talking. And it's a lot of asking. It's just a lot of asking and putting yourself out there. We had to find all these locations, and just watching the film, you watch one little segment that goes for 10 seconds, there's 3 different locations in that 10-second clip. It's you have to be forward and asking, and we have that we went to, and so and then there's other people's houses we used or locations we used where we didn't know those people. So you're trying to, because again we're independent, we're being location scouts and managers, then we're trying to get this team together and crew of people, and then you're looking over all the financing side of things, and then trying to get enough sleep, and then Luke's the lead role, and then I was acting in it as well. So it was just juggling all of these things. We made it work, and I think it is. The team that we have were incredible, such an amazing crew. And again, bringing people who specialize in their areas on board helped us to be okay, you're looking after that, you're looking after that. But I guess the producing side was a huge, huge learning experience, and I'm a giant sponge, and so is Luke, and we just really soaked it up. And like, there was times where I was like, what are we even doing? This is so insane. I can't believe we're actually doing this. Like a week before production, and they were doing lighting tests, and I was just like, far out. Like, we've done it. We've actually raised the money. We've got the crew together, and we're doing this. Like, it's like a train that you can't stop, which is kind of scary, but exciting at the same time. But I think it was just to keep going, having a really good support network around us. Our friends and family were amazing during the whole, pre-production shooting. Now in post-production, like, everyone's just like, where's the film at? What's happening with the film? And I think just having positive people around you really helps. And so the producing side of it was massive learning, but exciting. And I think it really unlocked a lot for us to realize what we are really, truly passionate about, and what we, the good thing about it is that you get to set the culture on set, and you get to set what your standards are, and you get to set what you will and won't accept in your workplace, really. So it's kind of fun because we had such a good time on set, and everyone was really, respected each other, and we ended up becoming like this family, and it was awesome, and everyone was just included in that, and we loved it. And those 4 weeks of shooting was just some of the best fun we've ever had. So, and knowing that all these people wanted to help bring our dream to life as well, and then they come on board and it becomes their thing too. So it's kind of fun to have this big network of people who are working together for the same vision. I think that's the fun part of producing, is like you're creating a family and you just make it all happen. So yeah, there's all the hard yards beforehand with all the business side of things, but then when it gets to set and you're like, wow, like we've created this and this happened, and now we're all working together as a team to fulfill it. And now in post-production, just seeing all the sound happening and everything like that, and being like, we can't wait to show everybody who's been a part of this and all of our hard work. And I guess it's a real team effort, which is another thing.
I think that's where it changes, is at the start you're like, oh, damn, we got to, like,
there's 2 of us.
There's so much to do. And then as you bring on people, people just start doing their jobs and things, and everyone's getting things done and everyone's doing what they're good at. And as producers, you can kind of just manage, like Erin said, manage the mayhem. And when things go wrong, you kind of got to work as a team to fix it. But yeah, I think the team, once you've got a great team, it just works out. It's, it's daunting at the start because you don't know how the hell you're going to get all these locations and all these permits and all these, contracts done. But once everyone's on board, then it's like, cool, we're doing this.
And I guess something about that as well is, like, even just a more practical side of things was, like, just becoming really good friends with the people at the council, at the Geelong City Council, and, like, the people that we were going to work with, because they're the people that help push permits through, the ones that gave us all the parking, helped us, with all these bits and pieces that we had to have filled out to be able to film in certain places, or have a hair and makeup truck in certain places, or to, that. So that's another thing of it too with producing, is that you need to build a good rapport with the more practical side of things, like traffic management and council and things like that. And that's another part of being a producer, is being the face of the production, because there are so many people involved in it, but then having that as well. So it is just always being mindful of the way that you carry yourself and speak with people. And because of those relationships, we had so much stuff, made so much easier for us. And just people on board and excited, and yeah,
it really does go down to people and culture. If you can get those 2 things right, then as a team, I think like almost anything's possible. And I remember watching, because I was still away while you guys were in production, and obviously I was seeing the posts that were coming through, and I was just like, damn, like that looks like the funnest production I think that I've ever seen. And, and the response from crew was exactly that. And I think when if you're making an independent film, doesn't matter, even if it's $1 million budget, like, it's still hard. Like, you're maybe only shooting in 4 weeks, you've got a bunch of locations, heaps of cast. And so having that gel, that culture that, like, keeps everyone together, keeps working hard, I think is just, like, it's so important. Cool. And so tell us about where you're at with the project now, and what's next on the horizon for you guys.
Well, it's in its final stages now, so we're just excited to get a trailer out there and kind of show people what we've been working so hard on, because it does it it takes so long that people are like, so what, is it
still happening?
And I'm like,
Yes.
you just got to wait a little bit longer. So we're excited to have it done in the next few months and get it out there and start seeing what people think and like the fun that we had on set reflects on screen to the audiences, and they have a good time and they enjoy it. And then I think we've already had conversations about what's next, and
We have.
we want to do another feature. We want to delve into the TV world and give that a crack. And
I think that's important, having like something next to go on to, because it does take so long. Like post-production, we started, June last year, and we're now in January. It's like, you've got sound and color grading and, composing and all these other bits and pieces, and the marketing and the trailer and the post. Like there's so much that goes into it, that now to get to this point, and then once we release the film, you release it, and then the question will be, well, what's next? What's happening next? And if we don't have something to back that up, it's going to be another whole year before, we're heard of again. So it's like keeping that momentum going. So I think that's why, having the feature and possibly television or something else on the horizon. But we also don't know, like this film could come out and there could be more opportunities that we hadn't even thought of yet, or, opportunities for us as a production company, or as a couple, or as, whatever needs to be done. But we're just super open to everything. But yeah, I think really awesome that
and like we'd love to collaborate with other writers and storytellers, because that's one thing where starting out, and even with this series that we've written, it's so hard to get your scripts out there and get your stuff out there, because
Definitely.
There's so many closed doors, or so many people that can't even read it because they have their own production company and they only do their stuff. So, we're excited to work with others and read scripts and, hopefully, because for us, this was, we had our film and our script, our baby, and we kind of took it to you and we wanted to make it. And I think working together, we all made it happen. And, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there with a script that they've been sitting on for years, and they're just like, well, I don't know what to do. I want to make this, but wouldn't have a clue where to begin. And I think, being that, which you've done, Alexi, I think you've, with your company, is you've been that launching. We want to make films or want to tell a story. I think that was my finest material.
Oh no, I thought so. I was like, damn, come on.
Damn it. I think, with your company, you've given people that opportunity to, tell their stories, and because it's hard to know where to begin and how to navigate going from script to. We really want to have our own, we've got a few projects that we want to make, but also being that hopefully driving force for other people. Yeah.
For sure. And I think, it is important, I think, to be the one that controls that kind of your destiny as much as possible, right? Like for you guys going out and making that film, you weren't waiting for someone to give you the money or give you the green light, because as we know, that doesn't happen. And it's like with TV now, TV is a whole nother frontier, and that in some ways, or I think in many ways, is even more difficult, right? Because it's not, you don't go out and raise the money and go make a TV series. You've got to get a big budget from a streaming platform or a network. So it's like, that's almost a whole nother level up. So by controlling your ability to continue to tell stories and make films and get noticed, I really think is kind of the key to building up that filmmaking career, for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's just, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh,
I don't know.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I don't remember. It's really, I had it in my head and then I heard a knock and I was like, is that our front door?
Cool. any other advice for people who are, sitting on that script at the moment and are, considering either working with me or, even going through the course that I've launched recently? Any other advice that you'd give them?
I think my biggest advice is just do it. Like, I think, when I want to do something, or when I've got a project that I want to make, and I think for us, like, we didn't know what we were getting into, and we didn't know where to begin, but we've begun and then kind of learnt as we went, and
we're still learning
now. And we're going to always be learning, but now we've got a film that's finished. So I think it's easy to look at hurdles and be like, oh God, I don't know what to do, or look at the industry and be like, oh,
it's too daunting.
Yeah, how do I get in there? I don't know anybody or whatever. I think just doing it and just get, and as actors and filmmakers, it's building your own opportunities and writing your own content and making it well. And
I think it would be also like backing yourself. Like, no one's going to want to back you if you don't believe in yourself. Like, no one's going to want to help out or invest or do those things. If you're like, this is the project I have, this is why I believe in it, this is why, we think it's going to go places, this is what we're hoping to do with it, this is the potential, this is what we want to do next. It's just having that continual kind of thing going. And so, it is just do it, just step into it, because all you do is one step at a time. And then when you reach a hurdle, you learn about it, you work out how you get over it and how you fix the problem, and then you go to the next couple steps, and then you find another hurdle, and then you work out how to get over the hurdle, and then it's just that continuously till you end up with a film. So it's not easy, but it's also super rewarding and so much fun. And as big of a learning, curve that it is, still, like, it's so important to have those moments and just to be open to learning as well. Like, to step into it and be like, I don't know everything, and to step into it and be like, I'm not too sure what's going to happen, but I believe in this and I believe in this project, and I'm going to keep backing it until, I get to where I want to be. So it's just having that confidence that and get there. You don't know how or how long it might take. But I just think the biggest advice would be just to believe in your project and to believe in yourself, and to surround yourself with people that also have experience, and to be open to learning and not shut off and think that, oh no, I'm fine, like I'll be okay. It's without your help, without the help of our crew and our team, we wouldn't be here. Like, it's a team effort, and that's the thing about filmmaking. If you don't like collaborating or working with other people, probably not the industry. There's a lot of sacrifice. There's been so many times where, you have to reassess what you're doing and understand that maybe what you wanted may not happen, but you just find a way around it, or a way to navigate or negotiate with people of how it's going to work. And it is just a massive team effort. So, I think just back yourself and believe in it and take the first step, and contact yourself, Alexi, or do the course that you've put together. Like, it would be super helpful for anyone wanting to get into it, because I guess really outlines all the stuff that we were learning along the way. And if you're a creative and that's not really your area, but I think even as creatives, really enjoyed that business side of it and learning about it and how it all happens and how it works together, because it may not be, costuming or scripting or casting or that kind of a thing, but it is creative in the way that you go about it, and the numbers and how budgets work and all these kinds of things. So it's creative in its own way, but it's just, I know it's been exciting to learn about that kind of stuff. So, I just think be open and back yourself.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you. It was great to chat and go through the journey again with you both. And I'm sure we'll be in touch very soon, probably after this call.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
You.
Yeah.
See ya.